au quotidien. C'est sur Terre, oui.
This is a flyover of an area called Area C at Leokwe Hill. It's an area that we're thinking about spending some time at. On the right hand side, beyond where we're standing there, there's a large collection of craft goods, figurines, grinding stones, and as we fly over here, there's more grinding stones. And it seems in that particular area at the back of the settlement, there's a lot of activity. So this is an aerial view of that. As we zoom in, you can see on the left-hand side, not a lot of features that you can see from the air, but this left-hand area is where we want to be spending most of our time. We'll have an adaptive model, so depending what we see, we'll slowly expand into new areas. In this flyover, again over the area that we want to spend our time excavating, you can see Leokwe Hill at the back left there, which is where the site gets its name. Having now risen up from Area C, we're now moving towards Area B, which is the base of the hill, and of course you get a really nice, beautiful perspective of Leokwe Hill itself. Upon this hill, coming into frame on the right, and already in the frame, there's a historic occupation of the site as well. Appearing now is the western summit of Leokwe Hill, and it's in this area, which is called Area A, that the royalty lived, that the chief lived on top of the hill. There's an incredible amount of artifacts up there. So this is just a perspective of the site as a whole. Mbere complex, we call it a complex because it has multiple components. You can see the shelter there on the right. The top of the hill, more or less in the center of the frame now, is a rainmaking site excavated by Alex Kuman. And that large collection of collapsed boulders, which forms a circle design, which is something we only noticed when we took the drone up. In this area there's terracing, probably for residential platforms, and there's several levels of terracing, which we're particularly interested in. So our hope with this site is to understand how these spaces were used and how they relate to one another chronologically, and who was in each of these spaces and whether that happened at the same time. As we fly over Mbere, in the far distance you can see another ridge, that's Edmundsburg, and on that ridge is another site called Baobab, excavated by John Calabresi, same as Leokwe Hill, and up there is also a very interesting rock art panel which includes fat-tailed sheep, shaman, other antelope, and all in very good condition. The hill in the background there is Kawaka Shelter, absolutely remarkable rock art site. It's amazing how you can see the end of the village here, where that tree line begins. This gives you a great perspective of that. That tree line, Mapani felt, which is a established species, you can see where it ends. It's very possible that this entire stretch of more open land was part of the village and occupied by people, by livestock, probably by small gardens, horticulture. So this gives you a really nice view of the hill as a whole. panning across the terraced area, and they approaching the center of the screen of the frame. Just slightly below is some packed rocks. You can see that they're really running along the base of these collapsed boulders and connecting them with one very long wall that establishes the lowest terrace. There's a middle terrace and an upper terrace. This entire enclosure formed by these boulders collapsing down has been enclosed by man-made walling, and then of course it rises up to the shelter. This just gives you a brief perspective of walking through the site. Here's Chantal and Sylvia with the EDM mapping. To the top left you can see the collapsed boulders. You can see some walling sticking out of the grass there as well. And that's the enclosed area. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the sites that we're going to be excavating.